Hi, this is an interview for Edularity. Today we are with Dr. Brian Ray, Ph.D. He is the president of National Home Education Research Institute. He's internationally known for his research on homeschooling. He is also the founding president of the nonprofit National Home Education Research Institute in Oregon, U.S.A. Brian has been investigating the homeschool movement for over 30 years. He holds a Ph.D. in science education from the Oregon State University, a master's in science in zoology from the Ohio University, and a bachelor's in science in biology from the University of Puget Sound. Brian is a former professor of science and education at the undergraduate and graduate levels, a former classroom teacher in both public and private sectors, and he has taught homeschool students. Dr. Ray does research and speaking across the United States and internationally that focuses on home-based education, research, and pedagogy, and serves as an expert witness in court cases and to government bodies on home education and other matters. Brian, thank you so much for this interview. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you for having me here, Mariana.
The first thing to ask you is, how did you decide to found the National Home Education Research Institute? Tell us a little bit of the history.
So if you go back about 1983, 4, in there, I started to look for people doing things other than institutional classroom schooling. And I read a little bit here, I read a little bit there. I was already a certified teacher by the government. And then I was starting my graduate studies for a Ph.D. at Oregon State University. And I met some families. They were looking for a teacher and they wanted to hire a teacher. And I was a graduate student, so I was maybe looking for another job for extra money. And I met these families, and this is in Western Oregon, 1980s. And the best I can explain it is they were kind of like United States hippies. And they were educating their children sort of like a one-room schoolhouse, but also kind of like what we now call home education. And they wanted me to be the teacher, and I said, no, I decided not for various reasons. And I realized that's kind of different. And then somewhere along the line, I heard of home education, and I thought, well, I want to look for the research on home education. And at that time, there were very, very few studies on what we now today call homeschooling in the United States. So I pulled those studies together, and for part of my graduate program, I wrote a paper. And then I had to defend it to the professors of education. So these are people who are teaching people how to be teachers in the public schools and private schools. And I wrote this paper about research at the time, and I had to defend it to the committee and the professors, and I just thought it was fascinating to learn about homeschool people. And as soon as I wrote that paper, because almost nobody was writing on the topic, I sort of got a name for doing research on homeschooling. Then in 1985, I started the journal Homeschool Researcher, which was basically little, we call them 8 by 11 sheets of paper, stapled in a corner, and it was me writing reviews of research by other people. That started Homeschool Researcher in 1985. And then as that moved along, I personally started doing research on homeschooling and finished my doctoral program. And some people and I said, hey, why don't we start a little research institute? So that was founded in 1990. That's the answer to your question. Somebody needed to do research on home education. Not many people were. I thought the topic was fascinating, and I had some support, some people who wanted to be behind that, and we founded NHERI, National Home Education Research Institute.
Are you listening? Damn.